Before I put this garb on, I was the love of the base. Okay? But then when they started seeing how I didn't change how I help people. I'm a therapist. I've been a therapist for 30-something years. So I wouldn't care if you were Christian. I wouldn't care if you were Hindu. I didn't care what you were. If you needed my help, I was going to help you. But some people did not want to get help from me because I was a what? A Muslim. All right? And I remember when I was at Lowry Air Force Base, one of my biggest adversaries was a preacher, a female preacher, who did everything that she could possibly do to get this taken off my head, other than taking her hand and snatching it off. My case went to Headquarters Air Force, the highest authority in the military. And they came down and said, leave him alone. He's authorized to wear it. And if there's any more, then they were going to prosecute her. But that still didn't stop them from coming after me. I remember on one occasion when I worked in the prison, and this young man, he needed some help with clothing. And they started, you know, I told the guy, hey, you're the one that's supposed to help him. And they wouldn't do it. And then they, you know, just came after me. My own boss came after me to try to ruin my career. And my mother will attest to you that every award I got, she knows about. And I say right now, I got them by the grace of God. I left Lowry Air Force Base. I was one of the ones that closed the base, and I went to Arizona. Needless to say, I went to Arizona as a what? Muslim. With his what? Kufi. To get re-attacked again. And when I went there, the good thing about it, the general there at Lowry called the general at the base in Arizona and told him about me. So I had a warm welcome. He told me to come to his staff meeting where all the commanders were, and I sat there. My first day on the job, I got in a big argument with one of the highest ranking enlisted person. Told me to take it off or whatever the case may be. I went to the staff meeting, and the general said, this is Idris Clymer, and he's the Muslim representative on the base. Leave him alone, all right? But that still didn't stop people from attacking me. We fast forward to September 11th, 9/11. I had transferred here to I was stationed at Dover Air Force Base. Dover Air Force Base is the only mortuary in the military now. All the people, the bodies come from Dover Air Force Base. Part of my responsibility at Dover Air Force Base was to be in there when the bodies came in. I saw every type of body that you could imagine, deformed, blown up, or whatever the case may be. I had to be there for it, and I told you before that there were Muslims in the military. So I had to be there to make sure that Muslims don't get embalmed, all right? That their preparations were taken care of, and I had to be, but I was there for anybody that came in there. And the thing was that when 9/11, I was in my class, and the news came out that the World Trade Centers, Muslims did it, and everybody looked at me. Now, they're not terrorists. And in their book, in their Quran, it will tell you the taking of one life is as taking of the life of all mankind. That's how they rever life. But you can't tell, and I'm going to say it, and God knows I'm going to say it. That become like my favorite saying now, Clyde. You can't tell that to ignorant people. And you cannot tell that to people that are in pain. So you have to look at both sides. The people that are in pain lost loved ones because of that. And they wanted to what? Accuse somebody. And they found somebody. And I was asked by the governor of the state of Delaware to be the spokesperson to go around and talk about that Muslims do not believe in terrorism. Muslims do not believe the stuff that you see on television, the suicide bombing, that is not Islam. The religion of Islam, the term Islam means peace. Does anybody know what the definition of the word Muslim means? One who submits to the will of God. Who in here submits their will to God? Who in here submits their will to God? All of us. So could I make a case, could anybody make a case that you're what? In Arabic, you are what? Muslim. But by practice, we don't practice the same way. All right? So for several months, I went around and I was a spokesperson, standing before people, pounding the pavement, saying, Muslims do not do this, Muslims do not do that, or whatever the case may be. But I told my brothers from the Middle East, they don't want to see me. I'm an African American. They want to hear from you guys, but they would never stand up. And then they would say, well, you look like us anyway. All right? And I just got tired and really was getting depressed that this religion that I loved and I wasn't getting any support from it. And I always told myself I will go where God leads me. No matter where God leads me, I will go. But I will stand firm. I'll be there every Friday, giving the sermons or whatever the case may be, but my heart wasn't in it. Then I found myself not wanting to pray anymore. Not that way. I said, does God need my prayers 5 times a day, or is one time better good enough? And it started gnawing at me. The more I read that book, and I just became disillusioned. And eventually I changed my name back to Clymer. And I said I changed my name back to Clymer to honor my father. I knew I really changed it to honor my father and to denounce what I was practicing for 25 years. All right? So it was a safety net on both sides. You know, my father gets some praise, and I walk out feeling good about myself. When I stopped practicing Islam, there's a word in Islam that Muslims call Christians and everybody else that do not believe in Islam, they call them kafirs, unbelievers. You become hated. All right? Now, mind you, I was the beloved imam 1 minute, but the minute because I took this off, and it's hot. Whew. I took that off, and I was like in limbo. But let me just back up for a minute. Me and this man right here, we would have some serious discussions. I mean some down and blowout discussions about Christianity, about Islam. We get on the phone and we start going at one another, you know. And I know my brother loved me dearly. and this is a beautiful thing about it. This is the wonderful thing about when you believe in something, that you stay steadfast, that you don't let nobody move you. You cannot say that you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior if you're not going to stand by it. That is a contradiction of terms. I went to a prayer meeting one time and a Bible study, and the preacher says, who's willing to die for Jesus? I raised my hand, and nobody else did. And I looked around, but I had to understand where they were coming from also. Just because I'm so steadfast in something doesn't mean that everybody else is. We're on different planes. But we used to fight. I mean, we have some serious knockdown, drag-out fights. And before, you know, you get off the phone, you want to say, I love you, you just hang up the phone. And you're like, man, my brother's crazy. He just as crazy as he was. And guess who I'm going to call next? Because I'm her baby. And they know it. You know? And one beautiful thing about the two of us, my mother had a minister in Christianity, a minister in Islam, and neither one of us tried to pull her. You know, and I don't think my mother would allow us to come between us, except for the beat. All right? One way or form or fashion, I always want to get over. But I learned a lot from him. He never tried to convert me. Never. He never said, you need to find Jesus. Because I would have hung up the phone right then and there. But I learned a lot through those discussions, and maybe that was God's way of directing me to come to where I am today. Maybe all those discussions, because I started reading the Bible, and what Muslims say is that this complements this. No, it doesn't. I'm going to tell you something, and this is not to argue with Muslims. All right? It says what in the Bible? Love your who? Love your neighbors. It didn't say love your enemies. It does too, but it says love your neighbors. They are not your enemies. They are your neighbors. And you have to learn to love them. And to use this as your defense. Because Muslims do not, there's a thing where it says there's a thin line between Islam and Christianity. Anybody know what it is? Muslims do not believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Muslims do not believe in the Trinity. All right? I started saying, well, God is God. God can make whoever he wants to. And as they say, that God can make children for Abraham out of these stones. All right? So why can't God have a son? And why couldn't this son be here? Because Muslims, believe me, in here, in this Quran, it speaks more about Jesus in this Quran than it does in here. It does. They believe that Jesus is coming back. They don't believe in the crucifixion, though. They just believe that God took him and he poofed him out of here. But he's coming back to save the world and correct everything that was wrongly said about him. But his name is mentioned more in the Quran than it is in the Bible. All right? Muslims believe in all the prophets of God, from Abraham to Jesus. All right? But it's on how they practice it. And they will stand fast and fight you toe to toe. But my thing, when I deal with them, or if I have a debate with them or a conversation with them, show me in here where God can't have a son. They believe in the miraculous birth of Jesus. So if you believe in a miraculous birth, you just contradicted yourself. If he came by way of a vessel of a woman, then you just contradicted, well, how did he get there? Well, they'll say Gabriel. So then Gabriel's his father. No. All right? But those are the things that I used to sit down, go toe-to-toe with a Christian minister, watch him get all nervous. Because that was my whole plight, was to attack. And then it came to me that how dare I attack somebody for what they believe in, because they don't believe in what I believe in. And the thing that you need to do, if I don't believe in what you believe in, ma'am, the best thing that we could do is say this: peace. In Arabic it says, Assalamu alaikum. That means peace be unto you. What do we say as Christians?